If you look back in history at the times when there was great social or political change, writers and artists were always there to create the manifestos and visual documentation of those changes.
Martin Luther King, the apostle of nonviolence in the civil rights movement, has been shot to death in Memphis, Tennessee.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
The vast republic of the holy city of Guernica, scene of the most terrible air raid our modern history yet can boast.
Our world is facing a number of existential threats: climate change, a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, food and water crisis, and a war in the Ukraine. I've always been drawn to the idea that artists should say something about the times we live in. If my paintings inspire even a few people to see the world differently and step outside their comfort zones to take action towards a brighter future, I would feel that these visual documents serve their purpose.
You know, to ask the question, why does Jorg Dubin paint provocative paintings? It's part of a larger question, which is what makes artists make and create what they do.
He is an artist that challenges himself. He's taught himself a lot of different mediums. He's been a full-time artist for several years, and his work is definitely thinking outside of what people usually think, and he's not scared to take any risks.
You know, it's important for me as a creative person to say something about the times we live in. You know, historically, artists, writers, philosophers have anytime there's been great either social upheaval or political change or war or whatever has happened on a bigger scale, the creatives are always right there with the politicians or whatever, because they're writing the manifestos, they're making paintings that are depicting either the triumph of what's going on or the horrors of what's transpired.
Jorg has never pandered to the marketplace. And you know, when you ask yourself, well, what makes these paintings so powerful? Well, there's a quality of work there. Obviously, the man knows how to move paint. He's probably one of the best colorists I've ever known. You can go on and on and on about what are his skills that make him a great painter, but really in the end it's his ability to grasp the soul of whatever it is that he's painting and to pull it out. This is what these paintings do, and they do it in ways that, frankly, I've seen a lot of paintings in 30 years, but I haven't seen a lot of paintings, or I haven't seen, frankly, an artist that can deliver on everything behind the scenes, behind the obvious.
That's the thing that's great with Jorg's work. It always evokes a feeling, even if it's anger or disgust or genius or brilliance or amazement.
I've been told in my past that I must really hate women based on how I depict them, and you know, the opposite is really true there.
You know, the nudity is something that you can't get past, especially in Jorg's case, where there's full frontal nudity. There's no nipple hidden behind a shirt or something. I mean, this is in your face nudity. Those nudes do not, by any stretch of the imagination, somehow objectify or show a female explicitly sexual.
It was about 4 years ago that he asked me to pose for a painting, and it was related to empowering women. Jorg created this incredible piece that I'm so proud to be in.
It was a little bit of tongue-in-cheek in this one, but it was pushed back on the comment that Trump made about, you know, being able to grab women by the pussy because he's so famous, which is such a sociopathic thing to say.
Not This Pussy is a direct response to Trump being elected.
I would say that for anyone who finds those controversial, I would look to hundreds of years of nude painting and ask yourself, what is it about your thoughts about nudity that is causing that discomfort? Because if you really look at those nudes, there's nothing sexual about those nudes.
I believe in how I depict women in my paintings. I think it's important to show women in kind of a vulnerable state, but also a powerful state. It is a way of drawing people in because they're not used to seeing this kind of work, you know.
The provocation is really he expressing himself, and by doing so, maybe provoking all of us to think beyond what we think art is.
It'd be nice to feel that I've made a contribution to potentially refocusing people's minds outside of their own personal needs and their own, you know, sort of self-absorbed ways of operating on the planet, that there's a bigger picture out here.
I think it's incredibly important that we document these things and we have artists like Jorg, because we need to tell the truth of what's going on.
Just to find him just embrace all of these different forms of culture, and then at the same time be responsible in terms of his social responsibilities. It has been quite an interesting journey to watch him go for 30 years now. I've known him.
It would be nice to know that even if it's just a few people, that I made a difference, you know, and that, you know, I have a record that I was here.